Well, howdy, Joseph.
Hi, hello, how are you?
We heard the news,
We're quite enthused.
and the only thing to do
What should we do?
is strum this guitar
And sing to the stars.
and serenade you.
You survived, and that's true. I thought I'd send a little wish to you.
That is some mighty fine fiddling. But hey, let's pick it up.
All right.
That's more like it. Yeehaw!
Play it for Joseph.
All right, now where were we? Okay, you're still standing, and that's pretty great.
Joseph!
You know what? You kicked its butt. It's time to celebrate.
Joseph!
Wordle jingle jangle.
It's time to do-si-do.
So grab yourself a partner and let's see go.
Cause it's a
Jingle jangle here and a jingle jangle there. A jingle jangle inspiration everywhere. A jingle jangle here and a jingle jangle there.
a jingle jangle inspiration everywhere.
All right. That's how you celebrate.
Joseph Jaffe is not famous. I'm kinda, but I'm Ross, you know. Jaffe is nothing more than a zombie extra, you know. Joseph Jaffe is not famous.
But he's officially. Well, Peter, you might be the first person on this planet that has ever shut me up for this long. Good old Heraclitus, I tell you, that wild and crazy guy.
If I came to you and I gave you $10,000 for 20% of the company,
Deal.
Yeah.
So, is that a verbal?
Younger than us, sorry to say, Joseph.
What, younger than 20?
Joe, we're just trying to help you because clearly you've lost control of the conversation.
I never, you know what, with all due respect, I never had control of the situation. Doesn't mean I'm gone. What doesn't kill me makes you stronger.
Look at you! You are insane!
How did I do that?
You're
How did I do that?
insane! You're insane!
What about now? Am I muted? Am I muted now? This is very interesting because I was experimenting with something. The intro video's audio worked. So let me try and figure out what's going on. You see what? So can you hear me now? I don't know. You're back. Okay, so this is interesting. This is really, really interesting. So what I decided to do was experiment a little bit. And I'm going to show you something very quickly, which is, how about this? So I used a second camera today, and it was a second camera that would allow me to do something like, you know, a Venn diagram, and basically say, if this is the 80-20 rule, let's move it over there. If this is the 80-20 rule in terms of people who buy you a lot, and this is the 99-1 rule in terms of people who talk about you a lot to a lot of people, then really what we need to do is focus in the middle. Now, why do we need to focus in the middle? We need to focus in the middle because, you know, these are your loyal customers, right? These are the people who give you revenue. These are the people that talk about you. But a lot of the influencers sit in here, right? A lot of the influencers, they're not your customers, but they got big mouths and they talk about you a lot. But what if you could focus on the people who not only buy you a lot, they also talk about you a lot? They are more credible. They are more influential. They are what I would call you super consumers. And then the idea is to expand, ultimately expand the middle, right? As Seth Godin would say, if they don't have a megaphone, give them one. And I'm not calling you a big mouth, Bob, at all. But by the way, so I'm showing you a little bit of what I thought was innovation, and then I realized by putting on a second camera, now I realize that I don't, you know, that it muted. So let me see if I can fix it. Just a little bit of, so you'll probably be able to hear me right now, obviously. What would happen if I turn this camera into, let me just see, just bear with me for a second. We're doing a little bit of live QA, which is something you should never do. Yeah, I'm sure you love the overhead cam. The problem is it doesn't work for me. So let's see what would happen now if, well, you see, I can't adjust it because, no, I guess I can. Hang on a Right, so this is the main camera. So I assume you can hear me, right? Yes, you can hear me? Bob, you're giving me all the feedback today. And then all I've got to do is adjust my second camera. And let's just see if I can do that very quickly. Very hard to walk and chew gum at the same time. But let's just see. We go to camera. We go to audio, virtual background. Oh, I've got a layout. I've got to try and figure out where it is now. I think it is here. Oh, I know where it is. It's under share. So we say share extra camera, and there we go. So I'm assuming right now you can, yeah, exactly. All right. So this is basically what I wanted to do, but because I'd done so for those of you looking to stream, I make mistakes and embarrass myself so that you don't have to. But what you've basically seen is how you can add on StreamYard a second camera, but make sure that the second camera is, you know, this one in particular, the one where you're drawing, that is not going to have any audio, because clearly, obviously, if they both had audio at the same time, there would be echo, etc. So I learned something new. You learned something new, and I think it's time to start the show again. Well, hello, everybody. It's March 1st. It is good to see you. My name is Joseph Jaffe, and I am your host today. I've just returned from South Africa, and you can see myself and my son, Jack, walking one of the most magnificent walks in the world. We walked along Table Mountain. It was about 8.5 kilometers, 11,000 steps, about 2 hours, 15 minutes. And then right at the end, when all the treacherous stuff was over, I went and fell. Here's something you should never do when you're walking downhill in one direction. Don't look in the other direction, because your balance tends to screw up as well. Those of you that know me know that I've had some health issues. Apparently, I found out that I have another debilitating disease, which apparently 99.9% of all males suffer from. It's called hypochondria, and it is chronic, and it cannot be cured. Hello, prestigiateur. I can never prestigiateur. It is good to see you too. Indeed, balance does screw up as you get older. I actually fell twice in Cape Town. I don't know whether it was jet lag, whether it was still the fact that I'm recovering from heart surgery, but I'm okay. I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm excited to see you. I'm excited to give you some Jaffe coin. Mitch Jackson is here. He said, hope your day. How can it not be going well when I see you on the show? Emmanuel is here as well. Welcome back, everybody. You know, well, let's just get in to the show. Not alcohol related, although I did have a lot of it. I actually got on the scale today, and it said plus 11 pounds. I'm not joking. I think for sure a lot of swelling, a lot of water retention. But I'll tell you what, too much alcohol as well. So I am going back to fat blogging. I'm not going to tell you my weight today, but from next Monday, I will be sharing my weight with you every single Monday, because it's not Monday today. And, you know, my hope is that we'll see some, my goal is 5 to 7 pounds to lose in the first week. Let's see if mentally I can get myself back to where I need to get back to. So today is a solo show. Actually, I came back. I taught yesterday at NYU. I wasn't able to reschedule yesterday's guest. Then on top of that, today's guest moved, and I wasn't gonna do anything. And so, can I lose 11 pounds? I don't think I can lose 11 pounds, but I think I can lose 5 to 7 pounds. You know, I thought of what to do today, and my first thought. So today I'm doing a solo show. I'm going to talk about forgiving yourself, because it is Tuesday when we focus on mental health and wellness. I'm going to talk about just a little update in my life, and then we're going to talk about a few other things. We're going to talk about Ukraine. We're going to talk about Wordle, and we're going to talk about a big kerfuffle happening in the Web3 environment with respect to IP. Mitch would be all over that like a cheap suit, like the kind of cheap suit that that Saul Goodman would wear. Saul Goodman. It's Saul Goodman. Just fascinating stuff going on. So this is just me and you hanging out for the next 45 minutes or so. Feel free to comment. Feel free to be a part of the show. And tell me if you like this format, maybe once a month or once every, when a guest cancels. This might be a way for me to just catch up with you and just focus on a kind of one-on-one, almost a one-on-one basis. So one of the things that I've always said or one of the things I've learned through this pandemic is the ability to forgive yourself. And we don't do that enough. We're so hard on ourselves. We are our own worst enemy. We're always chasing this fantasy perfection, and who is perfect? No one is perfect. I mean, if we've learned anything in this world right now, it's the fact that thank you, Bob. He said he likes the idea of solo shows. But if we've learned anything in the world right now, is that in this Web 2, my enemy now is Web 2. My new home is Web 3, but I push off against Web 2 because there's so many things about Web 2 I just didn't like. The fact that all content was free, the fact that no one would pay for content because there was too much of it. I mean, that degraded, it devalued the creators, it devalued every entrepreneur trying so desperately to build their brand, to make a living, to make a life for themselves and their families. But there's so many other things, like when we think about Facebook and Meta, the evil that has been spread into this world, all the misinformation, the disinformation, it's happening right now, even on TikTok, Facebook, and all these Web 2 platforms with respect to propaganda, misinformation, happening right now with respect to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But I mean, think about Instagram for a second, right? All this idea of creating this false sense of what lives look like, when people were crying, aching, in pain, and yet they were projecting this idea that everything was great in this world. The concept of filters, good filters and bad filters. I like the filters that are self-deprecating. I like the funny filters. But when filters are now starting to mask, and I mean, that is the old world. That's the world of Photoshop and retouching. That's not the world of Dove's campaign for real beauty. That is not the world where we talk about transparency as well. And so one of the things that I learned is you've got to learn to forgive yourself. You've got to learn to be able to say, you know what, I stuffed up today. I was on mute. If Bob didn't mention, I would have probably done the whole show and looked like an absolute arsehole, or just arse, not an arsehole, but an arse. You know, it always sounds a little bit better with the South African accent, I think, as opposed to ass or asshole. But he helped me, and then hopefully I've helped other people too. People that would have been trying to experiment with two cameras, and now we've learned, you know, how to do it, how to be able to create. I was thinking, like, when I take notes, normally when one of my guests is speaking, and you know, at what are we at 15 minutes, there was the point about forgive yourself. My own show notes. What an interesting way now of being able to share with you. And by the way, if you saw my setup, you would just laugh at how ridiculous the setup is, trying to figure out how to use two cameras. So I've been doing coffee every morning. At first, it was almost like a lark. Gary Henderson has his Gary Club in Discord, and he does coffee every 5 a.m. in the morning. And now I haven't basically, I mean, I skipped a week when I was traveling, but I've basically done 3 weeks in a row attending this audio first or audio only coffee in Discord. And I absolutely love it. It's like my happy time. It's my peaceful time in the morning, before emails, before calls, before Zooms, before the stress of the day to day and the to do list. And I encourage you and I welcome you to join us in the morning in his, you know, in his server. I can post. I don't have the link right now, but I'm sure you can find it, or I'll share it maybe in tomorrow's show. But you know, there were a couple of things. This is total. I feel like this is ADHD in, or I don't know if I'm diagnosed, but there's something going on in here. But you know, there are a couple of things that I just love. I learn something new. I get inspired every morning in coffee. One of the things today was about energy, that when Gary and his wife have different energies, they kind of stay away from each other, you know. And I realized what I mean by that is sometimes when you're hyper because you're in work mode, or you have negative energy because something went wrong at work, or you have positive energy because something went right, or just at different stages of your day, right? Sometimes, you know, I was all amped up and hyped up because I had 2 coffees this morning because I was talking about interesting things. And the insight is sometimes when you are at a different energy to the people that you work with or care for or love, maybe it's time to just separate just a little bit. Just separate as in allow the energy to equalize or normalize. Anyway, one of the things that we discussed today was today's show, and I wasn't going to do anything. And then Gary said, well, why don't you do the best of? Why don't you go back to an archive, one of your best shows, which clearly would mine. I mean, there was no better show than Mitch Jackson, no question. We'll see if you're still watching. But I love that idea. But then I thought, why not actually do a solo show and just catch up and talk about a few things on my mind. So that is basically what we're doing today. And so, you know, let's continue and let's get on with the show. Today is National Speech and Debate Day, or National Speech and Debate Education Day. And I think in a way, a common theme for where we are is the ability to really embrace being able to have different points of view. And I know it sounds like something that maybe seems a little obvious, but it's not obvious at all. People are afraid to open their mouths. People are afraid to talk. People are afraid to say the wrong word or the wrong phrase in fear of being canceled. And I have to tell you, like, I've been very, very inspired by Bill Maher. I really love Bill Maher. You know, he's a liberal. I'm, you know, I would have said maybe about a year ago that I was a liberal. Now I'm not really sure. I think I might be moving towards libertarian. Sorry, Bob. Farnham is like right now not happy, the green guy. I don't really know. Actually, I don't know where I stand anymore. But he's a liberal that seems to actually be to have like a head on his shoulders. He doesn't sway wherever the direction of the Democratic Party is heading or blowing. He says what he feels. He is a truth teller. I believe he is a truth teller. And yeah, Bob says we can't be friends anymore. I said I don't know. I'm confused. I think both sides are so full of shit right now that I think we need a different kind of revolution, and I'm not sure what that is. A peaceful one. I don't know what that is. I don't think the two-party system works anymore. I don't think it's worked for a long time. I don't know whether third party doesn't work either because they just act as a spoiler. We need a new approach. We need a new model, and it's just as simple as that. I mean, don't worry, Bob. All the things that you care about, I care about too. Still, nothing has changed. But Bill Maher really has pushed back or pushed away from this whole idea of being politically correct, of being cancelled, and in many respects. The irony is the biggest offenders these days are coming from the left, not from the right. And in an even bigger irony, the right are now embracing Bill Maher, and Bill Maher is like this pathetic. It's so ridiculous, because I haven't changed at all. I'm the same person. Everyone else around me seems to have changed, and so I think it's important for us to be able to just talk and speak our mind and not have to bite our lip or watch every word, or God forbid we say the wrong thing at the wrong time. I mean, I think there's common sense. I think we know certain things to say and not to say. I'm not defending Joe Rogan, and I don't think I ever will. Think he's an idiot, unless he wants me on his show, in which case, ready to come on, or he can come on mine. But in all seriousness, I think it's very hard. When a compilation comes out with 36 or whatever it was mentions of the N word, it's very hard to defend that and mea culpa that. And I think the question we really have to ask ourselves is it really worth having a conversation about it? Is it, at the time, all 36 times, was it really necessary to go there? Was it necessary, or could you have gone in many other directions? But that said, putting that aside for a second, the ability for us to talk, yesterday I was teaching at NYU, and I said, guys, okay, guys. And then I even said in my class, I realized that I should stop saying that. I realized that it's probably not the right thing to do, to say, guys, by the way, in a class of 23 females and one male, one male, one lucky male or unlucky male. No, one lucky male. And I kept on slipping up, and I kept on saying it again. And then it was like tripping me up, because it's ingrained in me. It's completely ingrained in me to just say, guys, okay, guys, to refer to men and women. But I wanted to still, in a class of strategic communication, I wanted them, in talking about issues, because we're talking about crisis communication and issues management. How do you find the balance between speaking your mind and speaking your truth, and having to be so guarded and on defensive or on high alert that you're not able to actually speak your mind? It's hard. True, muscle memory. The more you do it, the more you do the right thing, the more you'll do the right thing. That's as simple as that. And if we like that as, let's call that a at 23 minutes. The more you do the right thing, the more you'll do the right thing. There we go. I'm going to make sure that I have a note of that as well. Hello, Glenn. It's nice to see you as well. I'm experimenting with a couple of camera angles as well. Bob says, if we're not careful, we'll have anarchy. Anarchy is a society being freely constituted without authorities or a governing body. Some smart person by the name of Wikipedia apparently said that quote as well. So let's go back to just this idea, which is we need to speak our mind, we need to speak our truth, but we also need to be able to find a balance. And you know what? Maybe part of it means finding people, finding your tribe, finding your community where the safe space, the safe place where you can speak your mind and not be lambasted or ridiculed or cancelled or ostracized because of what you said. I think a lot of it comes down to identity. I always have. I think a lot of it comes down to it's not about confidence, but it's about knowing who you are. And a big thing that we discussed even yesterday in the class is consistency. Consistency. If you do the right thing all the time and occasionally you make a mistake or mess up, might you be forgiven by people that understand your integrity, that understand who you are, what makes you tick based on your track record and experience? This was a big part of this whole idea of reputation management. Bob says it's basically the Bob and Joe show. He said, you write like a doctor. Well, the problem is I'm writing so fast and being so kind of conscious about it. And he adds, there's a difference between our truth and the truth, or my truth and the truth. Yeah, I know that. And you see, you're actually getting into a very interesting place right now because people, it kind of like, it irritates me a little bit when people say, I'm saying my truth. And I think what you're saying is my truth doesn't necessarily mean the truth. Now, my truth is my truth, like my feelings. If this is how I feel, I can't be wrong. It's my feeling. This is how I feel. But but I think people that talk about my truth, I don't know that they know that their truth may not be the truth. And so that's just something to think about as well. I didn't even intend to spend so much time on this because I haven't even told you about who the rest of this week's guests are. So tomorrow we've got Iris Nevins coming in, and you'll notice everyone is famous but me. And I made a little mistake. That is absolutely not Jared Morris. You see, there is a lot of jet lag coming into play. That is Isaiah McCall, who will be coming in on Wednesday, and then on Thursday. So Iris on Tuesday. No, wait, today is Tuesday. Let's try that one again. This whole thing's today. Wait, if this is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay, Wednesday is Iris. Thursday is Isaiah. I'm definitely jet lagged, and Friday is actually amazing story. I'm as we would say in South Africa, I'm having a mare today, but that's okay because this is a safe place and a safe space. On Friday, on NFT Fridays, we're going to be talking to Dave and Valeria, who is responsible for the Girlies NFT. Now, let me tell you the story. So, two things that you need to know about Friday's episode. First of all, Friday's episode actually won't be on Friday. It will be a pre-taping tomorrow. So that's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, March 2nd. And if you want to watch it live, then I will be sharing an unlisted YouTube URL in my Discord server. If you don't know what the Discord server is, it is bit.ly/notfamousdiscord. And I'll be sharing that probably later today or tomorrow at some point. And I would love for you 9 p.m. to join us. The story is, as Dave Vale's father tells me, she's 14 years old. She's 14 years old. She likes to draw, and together with her father, they drew an NFT collection, which sold out. And suddenly she was thrust into the limelight, thrust into the spotlight, thrust into this highly visible place or space that she could never have dreamt of or thought that she would ever be a part of. So tomorrow at 9 pre-taping, but 1 p.m. live, at least premiere on Friday, we'll talk to father and daughter. We'll talk to Dave and Vale. And you know what I really love about the story, there's so many parts to it, right? One is to understand the story, how it happened, you know, how it, what was the spark, all the things that I would normally talk to my guests about. But what makes it also very, very cool is this is a father and daughter bonding, right? This is a time where technology really rips us apart, or we feel isolated, or we feel that parents and their children are not connected. Dad, get off TikTok. You know, you don't belong on TikTok. What are you doing on Snapchat with those filters? And here's the perfect example of what can happen when a parent and a child connect over technology, through technology, and in this case, Web3 and NFTs, during a time when we all felt so disconnected and isolated. So that's my plug for Friday. Here's my plug for my coin. The coin has gone up, the coin has gone down. The Jaffe coin now sits at about more or less about $9.50 or 70 cents. But you know that I'm not trying to get you to buy my coin. I'm here to give you coin. And for those of you that have been waiting 30 minutes to find that QR code, here is the QR code. Now, the QR code is a little fancy today because today I'm giving away 3.1 Jaffe coins. So that is about $30, just under $30 for you, my friends, for putting up with all my incompetence today, for putting up with my transgressions, for putting up with me being on mute the whole time. There is a catch. You need to own 31 Jaffe coins in order to get 3.1 Jaffe coins, but it's a 10% return on what I hope is a not financial advice investment for you. And of course, why 31? Because it's 3-1. It's March 1st. So 3-1, 3.1, it made sense to me. So if you'd like 3.1 Jaffe coins, which I think is about $30, is my gift to you. There are only 10 of these available. And it will be live for the next 28 minutes. So I will leave that up there. And just a reminder to all of you that by subscribing to the, is there an NFT for dummies yet? No, there isn't an NFT for Bob Farnham yet, Bob. Just kidding. But stick with me. I'll help you. I'll educate you. The most important thing, you know, there's an old saying, well, not an old saying, it's something I say, which is there are no dumb questions, there are only dumb answers. So the thing about anyone that has said that they've mastered NFTs is either a liar or a fool. I literally make mistakes every single day, and I continue to. And I've made some doozies, let me tell you. But I get smarter every single time. And sometimes I make the same mistake twice because I'm not perfect and because I fall into the same FOMO, whatever the case may be. So I think the most important thing to realize is you're a dummy if you don't think you're a dummy. And if you think you're a dummy, there's much less chance of you acting like a dummy. Hopefully that made some sense. But by you subscribing to the show, and which I hope you do, also by joining the Discord, I'm going to continue to share NFTs with you, give away NFTs, do draws, give you some coin, because I do really want to build this community together. And I do want you to feel as you're not listeners, you're not audience, we are, Joseph Jaffe is not famous. And it's exactly why I started the show and called it what I did, which is, I mean it. You know, it's a joke, and there is an insider joke, but really the famous people are my guests, and the famous people are you guys watching as well. And as long as I stay true to that message and that promise, I feel like I'll be on the right track. So there is no seated soliloquy because the whole damn hour is a soliloquy. But what I did think, what I did want to do, is talk about Ukraine, and I want to go back for a moment to the Euros, the Euro soccer competition, the European world version of the World Cup. This was Ukraine's actual shirt initially. I think they had to change it because they angered the Russians by creating a map, an outline of the Ukraine that had the full outline, including Crimea, in it. And it was the first time that I think Ukraine poked the bear. Maybe not the first time, but it was the first time I recall now leading up to this sad, unfortunate, and maybe inevitable conflict of poking the bear. Well, the bear poked back, the bear bit back big time, and now we are seeing repercussions. But I want to actually talk about this today. You know, a lot of people are trying to politicize this, talking about the left and the right and imperialism and progressive and blah, blah, blah. And I'm sick and tired of politics. I'm sick and tired of politicians blaming each other instead of actually looking in the mirror and blaming themselves. And so I wrote this tweet, and I'm standing by this tweet. And I'm on the record by saying that I believe that Putin is going to lose. The court of public opinion, including Russians. What I mean by that is when Russian people turn against Putin, then that will be the end. That will be the final straw, the final nail in the coffin, or the final domino to fall. But when in the court of global and local public opinion, corporates cutting business and marketing ties, country sanctions, cultural shifts, social media, Web3, and this incredible will of the Ukrainian people, it's going to prove too much for this madman, for this dictator with his Napoleon complex. That's what I believe. And I'm going on the record because I really, in this case, want to be able to say, I told you so. Like, I really want to gloat to all the people that actually believe that might is right and that Putin was bold and savvy and all the things that Trump said he was, because I don't think that that kind of behavior cuts it anymore. We've seen these memes, right? This is Zelensky, president of Ukraine. He's Jewish. His grandfather fought Nazis in World War II. Many of his relatives were killed in the Holocaust. He is standing up to a dictator because he is brave, because he knows what happens if you don't. So, you know, in terms of who heroes and villains and memes, it is, you know, it's amazing, right? It's amazing to see what's already happening. Glenn said, having lived in Russia, I know that if you piss off the inner circle, Putin will fall. Well, you know, what's actually interesting happening right now is I just saw today, again, don't know, you know, not verified, double verified, triple verified. I'm not a journalist and I don't play one on TV. But I can tell you that apparently China, I mean, I stand corrected, but China came out, you know, distancing themselves a little bit from the war. And, you know, everyone talked about this being World War III. Well, if World War II was the Germans and the Japanese and Italians, in this case, it seemed like a Russia and China versus the rest. But if China is starting to distance, and why, you know, and look, this is all going to come down to, as it always does, it's going to come down to money. And on that front, the Russian economy is the size of of Spain's economy. I mean, there is no way long term, when we see the almighty dollar or currency rearing its head economically, this battle may be one that Putin can't fight anymore. This is something I saw today by John Kutsia, who was on the show before, has been just, you know, if you follow him, he's been just tweeting some amazing things. Apparently, Putin's honorary black belt has been revoked by International Taekwondo Organization. This is just the least of it. I mean, Russia being kicked out of the World Cup. I'll tell you one thing. The one thing that unites the world is sport. And when you start to really punish the Russian people, in this case, you know, whether athletes are kicked out of Olympic Games or tournaments or the World Cup, we've already seen the Champions League final being moved from St. Petersburg to Paris. Just watch, just wait. As long as the world holds the line, and as long as the world doesn't fall or falter, you know, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of death and destruction and blood loss. But Putin will be tried for war crimes if he continues this, I think, the suicide mission. Here's a couple more that I think really reinforce my point. Dr. Ian Garner said, after a few more days of war, I've been carefully monitoring Russian social media reaction and production, and I'm more convinced than before that Putin's regime has totally overestimated its ability to win a propaganda war. So even those school photo ops, not enough at the end of the day, because even from a propaganda standpoint, um, whether it's memes, whether it's social media, it's just going to prove too much. And I think John gets the last word. He said, "Thank you, Vladimir Putin, for uniting most of the world. It's been a while since we felt this together." Isn't that interesting that this is what unites the world? Hopefully, ironically and tragically, and hopefully, when a global pandemic wasn't able to do that. So from the sublime to the ridiculous, let's talk Wordle, shall we? I don't know that we'll have time to talk crypto checks, but you know what? Before we talk Wordle, it is Tuesday, and it's Brian Fanzo's. He is the correspondent. He actually, I forgot, I didn't put the right Fanzo clip on the last Tuesday, so I'm going to do it now. Let's hear what Fanzo has to say, and then we'll talk a little bit of Wordle.
What's up, friends? Brian Fanzo here. And, I know we're talking a little bit of taxes, talking a little bit about regulations, and I just want to tap in, as an early adopter, and I pride myself on being an early adopter on lots of different platforms. For me, a lot about this space, a lot about early adoption comes down to you don't know what works until you try it, right? You don't know how far to push something until you've pushed it and you realize you've gone too far. But the beauty of that is that for those that aren't early adopters, or those that are looking to get into a space like maybe NFTs or crypto or creator coins, it's important for you to do your own risk versus reward management, right? Understanding what are the things you're willing to risk, and then listening and learning from others in the space like myself who are willing to push that limit, and in many cases, push it so far so that you don't have to push it that far. And that includes doing things like understanding how to see through the FUD, or what FUD is for those that aren't familiar. It's those that are spreading misinformation or trying to manipulate the public sentiment around something to lower the price of something. And a rug pull, which is a project pulling the rug out from people and making a money grab. And I'm spending 4 hours a day at least researching these projects to understand a lot of these nuances. But the beauty of that is I'm spending 4 hours so that you don't have to spend 4 hours. But I think it's very easy for us to get into new spaces and in new arenas and almost feel like, well, since we're early, that means that I have to be the test case. And what I'm here to say is that's not true. You don't have to be the test case even if you're early. But even if you're testing things, make sure you do a risk versus reward. Like, what are you willing to risk? What is the worst case scenario? And then what is the reward for doing that? And the only thing I'm going to push on for all of us to do when we're thinking about that is don't use your risk versus reward of pre-pandemic to actually kind of situate yourself today, because the world has changed. What we talk about, how we talk about it, the things that we realize that we are no longer willing to be silent upon, all of those things have changed. So it's very important for us to go back and ask ourselves questions that we've answered in the past, but answer them again with this 2022 mindset and the idea of really trying to make an impact on the world and hopefully embrace a lot of this new technology to find that harmony between technology and humanity. As always, make it a great day.
So it gave me a lot of cause for thought. This idea of the risk-reward relationship, but not pre-pandemic, because things have changed. And in a way that ties back to the idea of forgiving yourself, the idea of mental health in terms of being so hard on ourselves, but also what he said about this idea of making mistakes so that you don't have to, or doing the research so you don't have to. That is that is what a pioneer does. They're prepared to sacrifice. They're prepared to put themselves out there, in the proverbial firing line. And it's almost thankless at the end of the day. But the way that you kind of can be at peace with that is to be able to forgive yourself and be able to make time for yourself. I was talking about how these coffee sessions in the morning at 5 a.m. at this ungodly time of the morning have been like a sanctum, like a peaceful time. Well, of course, everyone's talking about Wordle and how this has just become a phenomenon, a global phenomenon. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about it. First of all, there's been so much creativity inside Wordle. When I wish people happy birthday now, I go HAPPYBIRTH, and then I write like today and then like their name. And I kind of dummy it on one of my other browsers. Here's one that says person, woman, man, camera, TV. Here's another one that this is not meant to be political today. These are the examples that I found, which is this one actually works in terms of being able to show the progression as well. But I love creativity that can come out and come through even on a platform. But let's just put this aside for a second and deconstruct. For those of you that don't know what Wordle is, if you know the game of Mastermind, then Wordle basically is Mastermind meets Wheel of Fortune meets Hangman. That's exactly what it is. It is the game of Hangman, right? Where you have to try and guess a word. In this case, a 5-letter word, and you get clues. If you've got the letter in the right letter in the wrong place, it's yellow, and if you have the right letter in the right place, it's green. And if you got the wrong letter in the wrong place, it's gray. And it has so Glenn is saying I am a Wordleite and a Wordle. I don't even know what's that, like a troglodyte or something like that. Does that mean you like it or don't like it? I don't know. But the thing about Wordle is that it's just amazing how it is. You brought this whole world together. I have Wordle WhatsApp groups. I was at the airport at Heathrow, and there were 4 people, probably I would say in their late 60s, maybe 70s, probably 70s, English, that were busy doing Wordle. And I just leant over to them and I said, do not even dare to spoil my Wordle today. And everyone just packed out laughing, and suddenly there was bonding going on. And I'm doing it with my kids, and I'm doing it with my brother and sister-in-law. It's just really been amazing. It's the most simple thing. It's the most simple thing, right? It's just Hangman meets Mastermind. But there were 2 points that I wanted to make. The first point is, it's a beautiful story. I think it's a husband and wife. They didn't even have an app. They didn't overthink it. They created something so simple. And the thing about it actually is when you take a step back and you go like, wait a second, how is it possible that someone can guess a random word, 5-letter word in the world, and do it in 2 tries or 3 tries or 4 tries? Most of my tries are 4. I've never missed it. Never missed it. I've got 6, maybe once or twice, 5 a few more, but most of my tries are 3s and 4s. How is it possible? It almost inflates our sense of worth and confidence. But there is a method to the madness, which is by just simply being able to eliminate words or letters, you have the ability to probably exponentially drill down. The other point that I just want to make is the power of derivative ideas. I mean, everyone's trying to chase the big idea. Everyone's trying to chase, this concept of something that's never been done before. But at the same time, I believe in small ideas, and I believe in derivative ideas. And sometimes the big idea can come in the form of a simple, small idea, by being able to just take this old game, this classic game of Mastermind, and applying it to something as simple and inclusive, because everyone knows Hangman and everyone can play Hangman. And so what I thought we would do, and maybe we won't get into the whole crypto chicks kerfuffle. In fact, we won't. Is play a game. Let's play a game of Wordle, and so that's what we're going to do right now. So this isn't actually Wordle. What this is just the ability to use someone put together an archive. So I'm going to do it and probably embarrass myself because this will be the one time. I would love help, by the way. So if you would like to help, please suggest words, etc. in the comments. Let's start off with I don't know. Let's start off with the word train. Train. And so now what we will do is we'll hit enter. And immediately this will tell us now that the T is in the wrong place. Glenn is saying, okay, so I guess what he's saying is a Wordleite or Troggerlite is someone who does not like Wordle. Goodbye, Glenn. We'll see you tomorrow, my friend. So he hates Wordle so much that he's actually leaving the show. Well, you know what? I'll miss you, buddy, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so now we got to think of a 5-letter word where R is in a different place and A is in a different place. And I realized there's no way that I'm actually able to do that. I need your help, my friends. So let me try and think on my feet. It's too hard. It's too hard. What about STR? What about strip? This is really hard to do it in front of you. So now that tells us that, so the T now is somewhere 3, 4, or 5. The R is, so it could be rotor, maybe. It could be rotor. Let's try rotor. R-O, or robot, maybe. R-O-B-O-T. Let's try robot. I'll be very impressed with myself if I get it. Ooh. So now 3 letters in the right place. So we know it's not A, we know it's not I, we know it's not O. So A, E, I. So could it be like, what is it? Why can't I see it? Rebut. I'm so stupid. R-E-B-U-T. Are we ready for it? Let's see. I did it. Oh, he was saying use adieu. I thought he was saying goodbye. Oh my God. That's funny, but I got it. I actually got it. So thank you for that. I actually did it. Now that was pressure. That was insanely crazy trying to do that in front of you guys. Wow, I am, I need to go and have a drink, except I'm not drinking because I'm trying to lose some weight. But that was just a little bit of Wordle. I want you, whether you love Wordle or hate Wordle, think about it. Take a few moments today just to think about, why has this simple game just taken the world by storm? There is always content and there is context. Is the game that incredible? Is it that amazing? Maybe, maybe not. But why has it captured the hearts and minds of everyone? Why now? And Bob said, can you do the New York Times crossword puzzle next? No pressure. Absolutely not. I never was good at that, even by myself. But I think the thing about Wordle is it really has just connected the world. It has connected us at a time when old and young, when families that maybe have been estranged over politics can just come together and have a little bit of fun. And I tried to do a little bit of an unpack for you, a bit of a debrief, right? This idea of simplicity and this idea of derivative or derivation, and maybe that is a message to us that sometimes the ability to move forward actually lies in being able to take stock of where we are right now and look backwards, look at some of the things in our lives and in our past that gave us so much joy, childhood memories, nostalgia. I do think that we are, I feel it in my bones that we are going through a life changing, game changing moment. And the world is very, very tentative, and the world is still um, fu- suffering from PTSD. I saw the other day. I was going back into the city yesterday. All over MTA announcing that peak fares are back today, March 1st, and I just remember feeling this absolute sense of like like you MTA going back to peak fares. Why would you do that? Why would you do that now to us? The world is not back to normal. The world may never get back to normal. So you offered non-peak fares across the board. So in case I jumped around and wasn't obvious what I was saying, um, normally peak fares are charged during peak times, during rush hour, during the commute. Well, there is no one commuting. I go to the train station now and still maybe a third of it is full. I can pretty much go anytime and get a parking. And so I guess as a little bit of an olive branch, they just made sure that all trains were non-peak. Maybe also because trains weren't running as regular. Maybe because express trains were all local trains, etc. But just going back to peak, it just felt wrong and it felt unfair and it felt manipulative and it felt like bad capitalism. That and I just feel like there is a better way. A term that I've been quite enamored with is this idea of a community capitalist. As Fanzo says, we is greater than me. That we can still make money with and still do good at the same time. That my gain does not have to come at your expense. My success does not have to come at your expense. My gain doesn't have to come at your loss. That we can truly move from the pie analogy, getting a bigger piece of the pie, to the flame analogy, which we've discussed on the show for those of you that are regulars. This idea that when I light your flame, my flame doesn't go out, but together the flames are so much stronger and burn brighter and cause and shed more light onto and into the world. Bob says, hopefully we don't go back to the old system. I've said this throughout. Bob, you've been with me for this journey over 2 years. My biggest fear from day one is that we would go back to peak fares. That's what's happening. We're going back to peak fares. All the mortgage forbearances are over. So now people will be kicked out of their homes because people are not back to normal. Jobs are not back the way they used to be. People are not going back to offices. There's so much still that has to be sorted out. And this is not muscle memory, right? This is not being able to snap back to the old way, especially when the old way wasn't necessarily the best way, because there can be a better way moving forward. And we can still get back to a point where we can meet and we can go to conferences and we can work collaboratively in person, but there's got to be a balance. Or in the case of something that was mentioned on the show, this idea of a sweet spot. It's not balance. Why do we always talk about it? Doesn't have to be balance. I think Jared was talking about home. It doesn't have to be like the two things being equal. It's just a sweet spot. It's a sweet spot. Maybe for me it's that, and for you it's that. It doesn't matter. But it's a sweet spot. It's what works for you. It's what works for me, as opposed to this idea of being able to juggle. Why should we juggle? Some of us work better with 80% work and 20% home. Some of us work better with 80% home and 20% work. Bob says 40% of Vermonters can't raise $400 in an emergency. So you know what the best thing to do for those 40% of Vermonters? charge them peak fare. Go back to peak fare. Make sure that they need to pay their mortgage this month when you gave them a reprieve for the last year and a half. And Glenn says, I was surprised that my company is maintaining an off-site allowance for staff because no one wants to work in Baltimore. We will prevail. Justice will prevail. Truth will prevail if we're able to realize that there is a better way. And the better way is not just forward, it's moving forward. It's moving forward together. So thank you for indulging me for 1 hour of your life that you will never get back. We return to our regularly scheduled programming with guests tomorrow. And I look forward, don't forget, tomorrow there is a live episode at 1, and then there is a 9 p.m. episode, which will be, you'll be able to get that in my Discord server. I am very, very grateful to you. A reminder that the show is available in audio format on all major podcast networks. Just search for Joseph Jaffe is Not Famous. I would normally end with Chuck Norris, but of course, I'm not famous, so therefore I cannot be Chuck Norris approved. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show, and if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.